So going into QB2, I think that we're a couple days into spring ball, right? Spring practice, and I think that at least for the time being, you got to give QB2 to Davis Warren. Even though he had limited playing time in actual games, I have up his stats from the spring game: 12 for 23, 175 passing yards. He really did a good job, I think, of breaking through, and he had an opportunity in the spring game to do so, given the fact that JJ was out, and Cade played kind of limited snaps. What's your take on Davis Warren, and do you think that he's kind of in the QB2 at least for now, and then we'll see if Tuttle can get in there?
Yeah, I would say so. Tuttle, I honestly think is a downgrade. No offense to Jack Tuttle, if you're out there listening, I have not been kind to you for the last 2 years, as it were. So I'm not going to start now just because you're wearing maize and blue. I think Tuttle is a downgrade on Alan Bowman, to be honest. And Davis Warren was ahead of Alan Bowman, and who's a guy who started a lot of games in the Big 12. As far as Davis Warren is concerned, we just really haven't seen a lot. But I mean, to listen to anyone who will tell you in that building, especially the staff, they feel like they struck gold in the sense of they feel like he is a 4-star quality quarterback that just didn't get the opportunity due to his leukemia. And it's really, there's really no way to prove them wrong until we see him more. So they usually, when they say things like that, they're referencing a guy like Rod Moore, who's been like, Jim Harbaugh said he'd be a 5-star if he wouldn't have graduated high school a year early, and if he would have stuck around for his 18th year in high school, that he says he'd been a 5-star. We're seeing that on the field. He's playing like one. So you can, granted, Michigan makes it really difficult to take them at their word, because they've had moments where they've, even without Fred Jackson having been on staff most of those years, that to Fred Jackson it up. Like, Donovan Jeter is the second coming of Mo Hurst, but twice as good, and it's like, you sit there and write that, and it's like everyone gets all excited. And then a couple games in, and you're like, he's not doing anything. So what do we believe? And they really kind of have ruined their own credibility in that sense. But that is kind of how they speak of Davis Warren, as being a guy that has that capability and that quality to him. I think the good thing for Davis, especially over the course of the last year, is his competition has been JJ McCarthy. So, a rising tide raises all ships, and you hope that he's getting a little bit of the seeing how JJ does it and trying to battle for the starting job. And if he takes that mentality into the 2023 season, then that'll be really good. Now, Jack Tuttle, at least, had, you've got his stats up there. He played the one game last year.
Yep. Versus Penn State, which we always appreciate when a touchdown gets scored against Penn State. So I'll give him that. But yeah, a limited sample size.
Well, he started a lot of games the year before. You came from Utah. I was really underwhelmed. I don't think I even saw anything from him last year. It really was watching a lot of the 2021 season and just the schedule aligning, where it seemed like I watched a lot of Indiana games, and he was not good. And so maybe he's better than what he's put on film, right? And that's always a thing. But at least it's like, with the receivers and the offensive line that Michigan has, at least you figure that if it really is break glass in case of emergency, Jack Tuttle can probably win you some games, because you got 2 running backs you can, rely on, a lot different than relying on Stevie Scott and, Ty Freifogel and some of these other guys that Indiana had. So I think that's to his benefit. And it's to Davis Warren's benefit too. So I don't necessarily know for sure, though, like what the future holds. I think if Jack Tuttle starts a game for Michigan, then obviously everything has gone completely Haywire.
Topsy turvy. I know you said Alan Bowman is better, and I think I would agree with you there. Although I do think that they probably see Jack Tuttle as like the Alan Bowman replacement in some ways. Transfer
100%.
quarterback. They designed a lot of like rollouts for Bowman. If you watch some of the early games that he did play some snaps, there were a lot of designed rollouts and things like that. So they may do that again in garbage time this year to kind of just ease him into the offense a little bit. We do have some other quarterbacks listed here. I've got Alex Orji, Jaden Denegal, Kendrick Bell, brother of course, Ronnie Bell, and Brandon Mann. I'm really excited about Kendrick Bell. And the reason I'm excited about Kendrick Bell is I looked up, I think he had 35 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns a senior year. I mean, he's obviously going to need to learn the system. He's going to need to be a part of it. But I think that there could be some serious promise in future years if he starts to ball out.
Well, count out a Bell at your own peril. We saw that with Ronnie, and there's times when there's evaluations that are just right on. Ronnie Bell, Pretty Pay being two guys who had committed, and I think I was with 24/7 Sports when that happened with both of them at that time, and I just remember going on the board and people just losing their minds, right? Like, how could Michigan ever? And then these two guys end up being among the best to do it, right? And Ronnie Bell was talking about it at I don't think it was the media day. It was just like one of those like Tuesday press conferences at the Fiesta Bowl. And just saying like, he's watching his tape of his brother. And it's like, wait a second. Is he really good? And he's like going out and playing with them right in the and when he goes home and he's like catching the ball, it's like, I think he might be actually really good. Like that type of thing is if he has the work ethic that Ronnie Bell does, and he seems like he has the athleticism, then that bodes really well for Michigan. As far as this year is concerned, unless that he wants to use more of the athlete portion, or unless Michigan finds some kind of special role for him, the way that they talked about doing with Dan Villari, but then never really showed, then, but I think that role would more likely go to Alex Orji, who honestly, I'm surprised that they're not lining him up at defensive end at this juncture based off of what I've seen from him lately. He, I think, could have a role in the offense if they were so inclined. However, I would say that it's probably in Michigan's best interest not to, because I think that is among those types of things where it's getting too cute, And I mean, you don't need it, right? And I think that's the same thing even with Kendrick in that moment, because it's like you've got all of these other established players who can do all the things that you want to do.
Right.
So don't get cute. Do what you're capable of doing with the guys that you can rely on. But maybe when games are pulling away, we'll see all of the above. I'm also curious about Jaden Denegal. He was the first of the quarterbacks from 2022 class to commit. Was a 4-star from Apple Valley, California, but not really highly thought of. It's kind of an interesting thing to be a 4-star quarterback from the West Coast. That's not really highly thought of.
6'5", 235, somewhere around there pounds.
Yeah, and he was like
the
only guy that didn't really see time in that UConn game when they decided that they were going to march out everybody and have them throw a pass and complete a pass. So it'll be interesting. I think that they have a lot of talent, and I think that's a lot of unheralded talent behind JJ McCarthy. So it's just a question of who's legit and who's not. I mean, they've got a couple guys that certainly could be well above average, but they also need to just kind of be able to keep the momentum going as well.